Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Let's just get started. You know what? I'm gonna cut the deck. I've probably cut this deck about 10,000 times now, but just for the integrity of the viewers, I hope you don't. I hope you appreciate it, because I don't feel it's necessary, but I know sometimes people get funny about what they see and don't see on camera. And it's fine, I suppose. So anyway, hope you're doing well. I am doing amazing on this Friday. Although you may not be able to tell by these cards. On this Friday, September 15th, about smack dab in the middle of September. That's fast, right? I mean, really, it's like, where does the time go, you know? All right, so we got the Tower, the Ten of Wands, the King of Wands, and the Ace of Pentacles. Some major shakeup or disruption happening from the top down is what I hear. And then we got the end of a burdensome cycle. Now, is this someone? No way. I'm gonna take a few more to see what I'm hearing, because I'm seeing like, is this King of Wands the one who has put down the burdens and now on the back end, or as a result has acquired some great opportunity for advancement, for prosperity, ultimately, on account of burdens that he's been obedient to release. There's that. I'm just curious about this Tower, though. Where's the Tower? See, I feel like I just gotta say it how, because it always comes forth the way that I feel it, but I'm trying not to like jump the gun on 4 cards. But I feel like he caused this Tower, like he's under this Tower. I don't get the sense that he's one that's actually fallen out. With the direct alignment, I feel like there was something that he did, being the King of Wands, putting some power into action that ultimately erupted some shocking change, that completely disturbed some established foundation for someone outside of him. And it's twofold here. It's that these burdens have transferred onto those that have ultimately been disrupted one way or another. And it's been like a transfer of energy, exchange of energy is what I'm really trying to say. That whatever he did, there was something that he had to do or was faced to do. Because remember, with the Ten of Wands, it's always burdens that we carry voluntarily, not always the ones that are justifiably our own, so sometimes we can carry on more weight, people, places, and things or even being in places, can help, keeps a certain burden on our back that with a change of perspective and then perhaps some change in action, we could relieve ourselves. Ultimately, is the Ten of Wands. It's like the burden is over, the labor is over, or the war is over, so to speak, but you're still carrying around the wounding. You're still carrying, in the most primitive sense, like the relationship is over, let's say that, but you're still carrying around the responsibility even to this partner, or this partnership, and in this regard, maybe perhaps he had 10 people 10 or less, or maybe more, on his back, that he felt, that he felt some responsibility to or for. And when he released that is when he ultimately reclaimed his own power and position of authority over his life. Like, he's looking back at some choices that he's made to carry some things that weren't justifiable to do so. Now, him standing in his power firmly is what causes the towers for others, because if you got people dependent on your energy, okay, wand is energy. If you got people that are codependent, or I just say dependent because it doesn't necessarily say that he was also dependent, which would be the codependency, but he could have been. You know, some people like to be needed. You know what I mean? They like to feel like they're adding value to others' lives, so they get caught in that spirit of codependency. But in this regard, there must have been some shift of perspective and even ambition to conserve energy and power for self, you know, to literally reclaim his power. And because he did that, it caused some disruptions in somebody else's life, you know. And look, the money, energy, money, because he was able to free himself up of the burdens to take care of some other people that obviously weren't of his assignment to do so. This is what has ultimately not only allowed him to regain his power and strength, but also brought in some new opportunities for prosperity. You know, because when your energy is entangled in places that are not supporting your highest good, and ultimately you're being drained, you know, like I said, 10 to 1 wands, that's energy, that's power, that's creativity, that's force. And that's what he was struggling with, trying to maintain whatever responsibility he had assumed. And when you can release that and stand on your own too, you know, confidently so, saying, no, I'm just responsible for me. I don't know what y'all gonna do, but I can't be the burden bearer and the labor sharer for the whole family anymore. You know, considering maybe it was a family or a friend group, or it could be a relationship that just felt like a 10 of wands on his back. Who knows? But now, because of his obedience to his pure passion and him taking charge and reclaiming the territory of life force of his own, is how this Ace of Pentacles gets to then pierce through and manifest. It wasn't possible before because he wasn't in alignment to receive this upgrade of energy, of prosperity and energetic flow. But now he is. That's what I say. So let's see what else comes up. His back is to it though, so I'm wondering, does he know? Yeah, because he's still defending his decisions, perhaps. This ground that he's standing on is now, it's diminished from a 10 to a 7, which is what, 3? Yeah, 3 of Wands is when you're ultimately waiting on your ships to come in, if we look at it that way. And then the 10 from the 1 is like a 9. The 9 of Wands is when you kind of you're almost a wounded warrior at that point. So it's like, I don't think he's realized the position of power that he has exalted himself to. You know, there's still some ways that he might either be cleaning up this power move that was made, or still feeling like he's needing to defend his actions, defend his position, stand his ground. Maybe some people are still like attacking him, or maybe not so much attack, but like pressing him, confronting his choices, his actions, still maybe perhaps trying to, what's the word that I'm looking for? Trying to like, I can't find the word. I feel it, but I can't find the word. Because it's not as much of a threat in the physical sense that I feel. It's pressure. That's what it is. It's pressure. Still trying to make him, trying to make him feel like, you know, trying to make him reclaim this responsibility on account of feeling of guilt is ultimately what I hear. Like, what are we gonna do? We need you. You know how? So baby needs a new pair of shoes. So and so needs the eye surgery. This one ain't got no food in her refrigerator. This one ain't. You know, I need medication. You know, like all these things that now, you know, that people are trying to attach to him as I don't even know what to call it. It's weird, but I see it though. It's like, the good thing is that they're having a hard time see here, the difference is that he was actually carrying those burdens. He was assuming those burdens. Here, not only is he protective of his own energy and standing his ground on the decision, that the course of action that he's taken, he's also disconnected himself from these advances. That's what I hear. So the issue is that there's still a bit of a distraction from what the potential of the potential for expansion is over here, because for whatever reason they're still kind of obstructing his progression by way of, I guess, you know, as I said, just imposing these advances, these requests, you know, still trying to pull on his passion with the wand energy, like trying to pull on his passionate side, the side of him that would want to protect. There it is, to protect, to take care of, to, you know, the King of Wands is definitely a protective king. He's not really one to just, you know, leave a man on the battlefield per se, or watch his subjects starve. You know what I mean? He's one that's going to take action on account of whatever the need may be. And they know that, which is why they manipulate or try to manipulate that force within him. It just doesn't seem like he's with it this time. But even still, I feel like there may perhaps be some further action to take, because this is definitely someone that has erected some strong boundaries, but there may be some further action to be taken to just completely disconnect, because for whatever reason there still is some energetic vulnerability here, whereas he may be firm on what he's decided to do and what he's not decided to do, but there's still too much of an open channel here of communication for people, just by way of the request to be helped, or even demand, I would say, is what I hear with the wand energy. It's even more so a demand, like, how you gonna leave us to hang and dry, or whatever? You know, I'm always in my head with these voices. But these are the demands that I'm hearing, like really just trying to make their problem his problem ultimately. And he's been strong enough to resist the urge to get himself involved. Yeah, look, but this is, you know, these are not individuals that are going to go lightly without being completely disconnected from. Like, as long as they can continue to attach themselves ultimately to his possessions or feel some attachment to it, there's still this potential to keep him bound in ways that might be more subconscious and psychological. Again, I'm saying that his back is turned to this money, so there's some like barrier here as to why he's not facing it forward. You know, it's these attachments to the past or to energies that just are not highly, in a high frequency to serve his dynamic nature as the King of Wands, to support him in powerful creativity and action and manifestation, and being an attractive force ultimately for this prosperity here. They're almost like dulling his attraction, in a sense, because of the vibration of which they carry. That, it seems like maybe perhaps he's still trying to like toe some middle ground where it's like, I love you, but I can't take care of you type of thing. And that might work for some of the energies, which is maybe perhaps why it goes from the 10 to the 7. Maybe some of them are okay with that. A handful, it seems to me, maybe 3 out of the 10. However, the ones that he's still feeling some commitment or connection to, there's still a vibration there that is harmful with this Devil card energy, even if he's not directly investing in it or even feels like he's directly connected to it. That's just how energy works. You know what I mean? It's like you can have strong boundaries in the physical sense, but if you're still going to the same places where your energy is not charged there and it's not welcome, you're still surrounding yourself with those same friends. So you're not necessarily the one that's funding the fun or the party or whatever. So that there's a little bit of resentment there, whether it be jealousy, whether it be anger. There's some distortion of vibration there that's misaligned. So although in the good heart of a king, who perhaps is passionate again about his energetic connections, he might want to stay at least present with those that he loves and cares about, or find some value with or in, but it might not be in his highest vibration to do so. He has more to lose than they do, because at best, we're talking about energy here. At best, even if you're not the one giving up the money, someone that is prosperous and dynamic as a King of Wands still holds a great value energetically more than anything to a group of individuals that obviously are, dependent, and perhaps even worse than dependency, because we're talking about the Devil card here. This energy is worse than just people needing a helping hand. These are people that probably can help themselves, but are what is the word? Like, somebody don't want me to say this, but I'm gonna say it. I'm find these words, Spirit. It's more than just dependency. It's like I keep seeing the vision of just like siphoning energy, like people that just literally, well, if I can't have his money or his resources, I'm just like literally trying to bring him down. In both of these pictures here, he relieved a certain burden of a certain load and burden on his back. They not only want to pull him back into that energy against him having denounced it or separated himself, they want it to be worse. It's like, oh, you're not going to make it beyond us if we're not benefiting off of, this expansion or this new gift or opportunity that you're getting. Like perhaps they see the potential, or always have seen the potential, but perhaps there's something that's even known of this advancement unbeknownst to him behind his back, that is known that they ultimately want to have some part in. And it's like, well, if we can't have a part of it, we're going to make sure that you can't either in some way, shape, or form. So it's done by way of, again, by distorting his own vibration, still persisting and insisting that he stay connected. All the while, they're, devils, very diabolical under the surface, literally here with the Seven of Wands card, just trying to pull him down off of his throne, off of his vibration of creativity, so that he misses this opportunity to perhaps advance beyond them, let alone even beyond, the potential that he's exhibiting in this present moment. I hope that makes sense, because this devil here is like, I feel like that's the one that's trying to keep me bound. It's like they're trying to keep him bound. That's what it is. So when he's coming around, perhaps these individuals, I hear it in a practical way, like trying to lower him back to like a distorted passion, like a perverted passion of life. He's sitting in a space of self-control over this demonic energy, over the lower natures. Not really consider this in the most primitive sense, like the homies, because this is all for the most part, it's masculine energy, except for this feminine in this devil card. So feel me in a second. He's sitting in his exalted energy of self-control over his passions. They clearly are not on that vibration. So if someone that, it's like, consider you going around the homies, as a masculine who is ultimately just changing his ways, evolving. You're not really looking to be, the player. You're not looking to be up in the clubs per se, or, just doing wild stuff. You're not really looking to act off of your impulses, as you once were, where it was like, if it's a good time, I'm going for it. It's almost like they're trying to bring him down into sort of like a Knight of Wands energy, because they're probably more or less knights at best, perhaps pages even, just very immature vibration that feels threatened in a sense. Right here is why he has to protect himself by his evolution, because what that does generally is when you start to evolve in spaces and places that are not in alignment with you, is it causes a tension of resistance and intimidation in some ways, and at the worst, of course, jealousy and envy, not because it's to be taken personal even unto the King of Wands himself, but more so because those individuals that may not be willing to aspire to that level of evolution and change and transformation don't want to be looking at it in their face every day. So it's uncomfortable to look in the mirror or see a reflection of something that you don't feel equipped, or you don't feel you have the potential to aspire to. So instead of them actually looking at him as an inspiration, like, yo, man, bro, really getting himself together. He ain't out here, hitting everything moving no more. He's really focusing on, protecting his what he has and doing the best for himself and just getting to this money, getting to the bag in the most honest way possible. He's like, he real focused, man. Like instead of the homie seeing that and being inspired by it in a progressive way and saying, you know what? I need to get my shit together. Let me do what I need to do for me. It creates more, and maybe 3 of the homies of the 10 do feel that way, but there's still yet a 6 or 7 of them, figuratively speaking. It could be any number, or more or less. Quite honestly, we're talking about a king here, so who knows? And a king in this regard who is known to be an outgoing, to be a go-getter, to be very ambitious, confident, someone that is attractive, not just in an intimate sense, but people want to be around someone in the King of Wands energy, because there's just a certain force around them that is attractive, literally. It's exciting, it's fun, it's sometimes even spontaneous, wild, and it's low, and some of its lower natures is something you want to be around. And I get the sense with this devil card here that once upon a time he probably was a wild boy. He was probably into the same energies, same things as he was, as everybody else was to some degree. And there was always some there's always something stand out about someone that embodies this type of potential. So even though he might have been doing the same things that his friends were doing, or that was normal or conventional by his surrounding standards, there still was there's a light that shines on someone that embodies this potential that is undeniable. That's the very thing that's attractive in the first place. So although there might have been ways in which he perhaps couldn't even see the gift of himself, the light that was in him, his potential to do more, have more, be more, the others were very much so able to see it. And not only were they willing to take advantage of it for as long as it was beneficial to them, but they were willing to, manipulate it, monopolize on it, as a matter of fact, so much so that it would almost be a hindrance or be like a detriment to his potential to grow even more. So not only could he not grow beyond them, but that he could never reach this great potential that obviously was observed from the outside in. So like I was saying, it's like you go out and you start evolving and changing, but you're still coming around the same old folks, and you're not really feeding into that vibration, like contributing to it. Like, you're not the wild boy at the party no more, but they want to continue to bring you down by ways of different temptations. So it could be women. It could be in the activities that, like, come to this party, bro, come do this with us. Could be, any engagement of activity with this wand energy that will ultimately contribute to lowering his vibration from where he's evolving to and elevating to gain this evolution, this exaltation of prosperity. That's the plan and the plot here. I don't know if it's been, I don't know if it's been all that successful in essence, I'll say in truth, but this is back to what I was saying. It's like, even though he might still be refusing, like really doing a good job of standing his ground, like, nah, I'm good, shorty cool and everything, but I'm good right now. I'm maybe even celibate, you know what I mean? It could even be females that are trying to test. What's happening here is he's being tempted and tested by way of his passionate side, because that's the most vulnerable aspect of the King of Wands. It's the most powerful and the most vulnerable, to test him by way of his passion. So when he's passionate about moving in his power and being pure in his pursuits and things of that nature, he's unstoppable. Obviously, with the Ace of Pentacles here, it's like the spirit can work with that. But when he's in that lowest vibration, it becomes something else altogether. It does become diabolical, and he is susceptible to being tempted by lust, to be tempted by engaging in activities that are not healthy, to his overall well-being, that are not supporting him at his highest frequency. He's very susceptible to it, for sure. It's like he has that come from, no doubt, to be sensationally to be sensational, to be like be a slave to his sensual nature, ultimately, as in with the Devil card here, where he's literally chained to this vibration of sensational satisfaction, but in a lower sense. Not to say sensation is a bad thing, it's not, but when there's an imbalance, that's what this devil energy looks like. When you're always pursuing a good time, not for a long time, when you're always pursuing that immediate gratification of for lust, and maybe even someone that's angry also with the King of Wands, the adverse of that. So it could be trying him in that regard too, trying to provoke him to anger and to rage in a way that perhaps he's kind of like chilled from, but again, when you can bring that, when you can compel someone to resort to that vibration, it has much more of an effect on him. As I said, he has more to lose than it has on those that are imposing the interference in the first place. They already living on that vibe. So to bring him down onto their level is just par for the course. They can't have what he's entitled to anyway. And this might even be bigger than it just being like, oh, he's not taking care of someone, or I really feel like it's much more energetic. You know, these are people that are so diabolical in nature that they just don't want to see him advance without them. And they know that what comes with that is the possibility of prosperity, but it might not even be something that is actually materially in play right now. They just see that it could be. So again, it's like I said, it calls for anyone, you know, it's not limited to this King of Wands. You know, the King of Wands is here because even if this is, if you're a feminine watching, this is you being in a proactive position of power to be protective over your life and your energy. You know, it's like you actually doing the things that are going to support and protect your best self ultimately, like the essence of you, your creative force, how you get to manifest. Like, this is you. You know, your life force is what's at stake here. And if you're continuing to surrender, or not just surrender, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like to I'm having a hard time with words today, and Mercury went direct. So what the heck, Mercury? To, you know, submit yourself to vibrations that have already proven themselves to be detrimental to your well-being. Even if you're not doing the things that the crowd is doing, you're still, this could be family or friends. You know, sometimes the hardest part is separating ourselves from energies that we still feel some commitment to, or feel some love for, or even passion for, and you still want to be there. You want to be present for them, but you know that the vibration that they're on has a direct effect on you. It's like, do you sacrifice yourself for the sake of being present with those that you care about, or do you prioritize your highest good? Yeah, it might mean that some people get thrown off course or thrown off balance because they don't have your energy anymore to ultimately stabilize, you know, their life experience. But you got to make a powerful choice here, because this is really like the difference between the two. You're going to choose the burden or the blessing. Point blank, period. Like, straight up like that. There's a powerful choice that has to be made here, and it may not just be as simple as like not doing what everybody's doing anymore. Yeah, because it's people still plotting under, you know, behind the scenes as to how they can ultimately monopolize this manifestation of his, whether they see it or not in physical form. Like I said, they just sense like, bro is different, you know, he wants some other stuff right now. And they know that if he completely does what I'm saying he needs to do, which is completely detach, then that's a great source of energy that they're going to be completely disconnected from. Hence the Tower here. I don't know if the Tower, I don't know if it's a matter of this is what needs to happen to, perhaps that's what he's apprehensive about, is because he knows that once he really disconnects, that it's going to be the Tower. Like, people's lives are ultimately, going to fall apart. They're going to be stuck, stagnant, you know, not to wish it on anybody, but just by the perception of what their mindsets are. Nobody in general should be that dependent on another person's energy or presence to the point where you don't want to see them move on because you feel you have something to lose from it. Like, that's nuts. That is diabolical. Like I said, if anything, you should be inspired to make a move that will put you in the same position for yourself. Definitely not spending your energy trying to distract or even obstruct someone else's path forward, you know, to keep them stuck and blocked and bound. So it's like, I don't know if he knows that this ultimate withdrawal, like complete withdrawal of his energy is going to cause this Tower, and that's what he's still more or less attached to, trying to find some common ground where he can so-called protect himself and be present for those that he cares about, but not be as affected or impacted by the choices that they make. I don't think there's a middle ground for that. It has to be a hard, severing of ties, an energetic severing of that cord if he wants to really reach the potential that is destined for him. It's like sitting over here waiting like, hey, you you see this pentacle over here? This is yours. Come and get it. And he's still like, all right, yeah, I'm coming. Let me just make sure these my folks over here are straight. Like, your folks is going to be your downfall, bruh. Whether that's people, places, or things, intimately or generally speaking. If you are attached to this day and age, I mean, perhaps it's always been the case, but it's just so clear now that our energetic attachments are extremely vital. That it fuels everything. It's your life force. As I said, you can't even manifest right if you're still in relationships, friendships, and environments and mindsets. You can't do anything to the fullest potential when you're still attached to places that don't support that and don't exalt that. That actually are doing the very opposite, looking to diminish it and destroy it at every turn. How you could be the King of Wands all day with the best intentions and the strongest passion and the most fierce and confident capabilities on earth, and you still, your Achilles heel will still always be those connections that you're still aligned with. Like, you're really only as strong as those vibrations. So it calls for like a clean slate, unfortunately, and that's a hard thing to do. But again, I'm not just speaking about a King of Swords. I'm talking about taking a proactive approach and solidifying and stabilizing your creative force. There's something that you're looking to manifest, and perhaps it's been waiting on you in a sense, but there are some ways that you're still connected to things that are adverse to, literally on two different ends of the scale, some burdens that you're still carrying energetically that are not allowing that manifestation to fully come through. And it doesn't make sense any other way except, here's the Justice card, except that there's a great disconnect that gets to happen. There's still too many cords attached. And you're the one whom, you being you, the King of Wands, masculine or feminine, you're the one with the power to make the ultimate detachment. You're the one that has the power to stay attached, and you're the one that has the power to sever that tie. And it's a hard thing to do, it really is, but when it comes down to a burden or a blessing, I think you might want to choose the latter. Here's the Emperor. Wow, here's the Emperor, the Queen of Wands. These are commitments. So now we got the Queen of Wands, which just solidified my point that this is, and with the Emperor here and the Justice card, this is masculine or feminine affirmative. We have both energies on the deck now. And this commitment here with the Two of Cups. Let me just get one more and let's see where we at with this, the rest of this message. Can I just get one more, Spirit? Come on, be kind. Oh, all right, Danae. That's too many. Oh, that's the one more. Victory and success moving forward. We love to see it. So this is the recommitment to self, This is pretty much saying what I said. It's like, here is where he's still stuck, speaking of the King of Wands, but again, whomever you are, where there's still like a resistance to moving forward with the Hangman. It's not like he doesn't have the enlightenment. He does, with that light behind his head. He knows what he has the intel. Ultimately, he sees, he has the understanding. He's been willing to put himself in a position to call in understanding. Like, some people are just keep spinning their wheels, but there was something about him, even from the part where he began to shift his perspective and actually change his ways from what he was used to or what he had been surrounded by. This is where that choice has ultimately manifested prosperity for him in the spirit, in the mind. So he has the intel. He knows who's for him and who's against him with this Three of Pentacles. He's very clear about what's working for him and what's not. Even those that don't necessarily mean to be, that don't necessarily mean to be an offensive detriment to him. Like, some of the homies might not necessarily be trying to hold him back on purpose or trying to block his progression in a way out of the motivation of jealousy, or resentment, or whatever the case may be, anything lower vibrational. It could not be an offensive attack, but the way that it plays out for him in the position that he has elevated to and is aspiring to ascend to, is that it keeps him bound, it keeps him low. So even the ones that don't mean to be a burden ultimately become one, all by his choice. Not on, it's not the responsibility is not on him, but by his choice of staying connected, they still kind of drain his energy and limit his manifestation and creative possibilities, just on account of association, rubbing elbows with the wrong people, meaning that are out of alignment with your best, is just as detrimental as you submitting yourself to the lower vibrational energy. So again, he has all the intel, but we can be clear about that. He knows what's what. It's just still that last point of decision that gets to be made, like literally not being the sacrifice anymore is what this is. Like, sacrificing your own energy for the sake of others is what this Hangman is representing. It's like he's trying to hang on for as long as he possibly can, because he knows when he departs, when he disconnects, that it's all going to, if it doesn't all fall down for everyone, he knows that it's going to create a great void in the lives of those who count on his energy, who are connected to his energy in some type of way, let alone those that are actually benefiting off of it, good or bad. And he's resistant to do that, because he's a compassionate, more passionate king than compassionate. But in this regard, there's some compassion for those that might potentially be left behind or left out of whatever this inclusion of expansion may be. But the justice here is to create balance with this situation, for him to reclaim his highest vibration of power, because this is potentially where he's setting off to be. It's like he's the King of Wands here already, even having been exalted from maybe some knight state or page state. This is the maturation here in this present position. The opportunity for expansion and advancement is something that's going to put him in an emperor status. That's even greater than a king, where he is literally being able to be the sole executor of his estate, to be the prominent force of power over whatever it is he's aspiring to do or create. There's no one higher to answer to when we're talking about the emperor. Nobody has more power as far as the masculine energies are concerned in a singular sense than the emperor. And that seems to be the justice and the balance that is due to him, perhaps for all that he has incurred, for the ways that he has taken care and been a prominent example in his community, in his family, amongst his friends, on his job, in whatever way that there was some imbalance before. Because as I've said, there were some that were just there for the ride, and there were some that were actually maybe even plotting against him to be some source of destruction or anti-force, you know. So there's a justification here for the things that just were not fair, you know, that were not in harmony with who he's been called to be. And now he gets to actually, if he relents to that justice and stops trying to create, you know, this balance on his own, you know, it's like he's almost trying to he's trying to hold it all up, you know, on his back, literally, with the Ten of Wands here. If he would relent to what the universe is justifiably trying to do here, you know, just divine order in its own right, he would see that everybody will ultimately fare in the way that is fair, you know, that will make out in a way that is fair. He will be able to ascend to his position of power and perhaps maybe even be able to do more to inspire change or make an impact in a positive way than he's able outside of the situation, mind you, because the emperor is kind of set apart. He's not as tangible or reachable, you know, as exposed as a king of wands might be to who's in the midst of the people. The emperor might have multiple kingdoms. He might be at a great distance from the kingdoms that he actually does govern or manage, you know, or make an impact on. Not to mention the fact that he can make an impact on kingdoms beyond his own. So to that point, you know, that's the justice of it all, what makes it all balanced out in the long run, that maybe perhaps him stepping outside of how hands-on he wants to be to protect, to guide, to prosper, to influence, to impact the people in his camp or his surroundings. He can actually do more by answering to this greater opportunity that may call him to separate, that may call him away, you know, that may call for him to travel, to leave his hood, you know, to leave that job, to leave that environment, to disconnect from some family and friends, to not be in certain places and spaces anymore, you know, no matter what the past connection may have been. He may see that his absence makes a greater impact than his presence ever could, you know, because maybe perhaps these individuals that feel a threat for his presence and see the only possible recourse is to try to keep him contained and keep, you know, try to hold on to him for dear life. When they can no longer do that, then perhaps that leaves opportunity for them to start to rely on their own energy, to see more clearly how they can elevate and maybe take the path that has ultimately been pioneered, for them to elevate their own potential, you know, and harness their own power and creativity to do something more than what they had been doing before. So there's greater to gain, and sometimes making the harder choices of even separation and solitude and I hear sanctification. Like sometimes not sanctification, but like when you set yourself apart. What's that word? I can't think of the word, but like sometimes you kind of have to set yourself apart, not for the sake of feeling like you're better than anybody, but there's just some things that you can't do when you're in a vibration that doesn't support it, whether it's well-meaning or not. And it's on you. It's not even on the surrounding vibration or vibrations. It's because there's some attachment that ultimately it leads you back into, or keeps you stuck in ways that don't support an exalted expression of self. You know what I mean? I don't know how much better I can say that, but it's like there's just certain experiences on your journey that have to be done by yourself, and then sometimes we can return to those places and spaces that we once loved or found a connection with, and we might be surprised to find out we return and it's grown, it's evolved, it's expanded to even reconnect with the capacity in which we have evolved and expanded. That's just what the call for us all individually, to be willing to take, if you choose to. Everybody doesn't have to, but it is definitely an invitation to allow yourself to be expanded and evolved by way of walking your own path. And the Queen of Wands is like I said, it's the feminine expression of it, where there's an openness and a willingness, a receptivity to this transformation of energetic force. She is just the masculine expression of it in this regard. I feel like it's just ultimately bunkering down on the fact that this is for either one, but also drawing attention to that energetic force of you that has evolved, that then begins to attract commitments and connections, collaborations, and opportunities to co-create with individuals that are on your vibration. You know what I mean? It's like you couldn't do much here in this distorted energy, but once you separate yourself, I wish I could think of that word, it's bothering me. Consecrate, that's the word. Consecrate is the word that I was thinking of, where you literally set yourself apart for some greater good. In the religious sense, it's like you making yourself holy, in a sense, but ultimate, some acceptable unto your divine path is how I could say it practically, meaning when you consecrate yourself, it's exactly what's been called for here, to release energies, vibrations, maybe even habits, people, places, things, ideas that are not in alignment with the greatest you that you are calling in to be. Consider you're looking at the reflection of God or whatever supreme source you submit to. You wouldn't want to match that presence in a way that is defiled, intentionally so, when that there's aspects of you that keep you from matching, eye to eye to that vibration. If you're empowered to do so, as the King of Wands definitely is, then you make the choices and take the actions that allow you to match with the gift. This is like divine intervention here, and expression. The divine seeing you as a gift of the universe, and ultimately encouraging you and inviting you to see yourself in that same reflection. You do that by way of your habits and the energies that you submit, surrender to, and invest in. Inside out, outside in. That's the consecration piece. So like I said, it's like you making yourself worthy of the divine, or worthy to be in the presence of God, or worthy to do God's work, in a sense, ultimately. It's not really as complicated, and as religious as the word itself implies. It's not as, dogmatic per se as it would imply, perhaps even in the scriptures or in some religious context. It's just you recognizing where you may be falling short and who you desire to be at your highest self, and then making the proper changes or shifting, the things in your life accordingly, so that you can match with that ideal vision of you, just simply put. So again, it's like you seeing the handwriting on the wall. It comes down to, do I continue to choose to live in the lower nature of myself and be dragged down to spaces and places that I don't even feel good about living in? Or do I make the hard choice that might cause me to separate, might cause me to be a little bit alone in solitude for some time, or at least to feel like, I'm lonely on this limb? Because sometimes that journey does you do feel isolated. It's not really loneliness, I would say. It's more so solitude at times that a journey such as this will call you to. And it's not forever, it's not eternal, but sometimes, like I said, you got to get by yourself to really see the error of your ways and to let the spirit of the Most High essence of you kind of prune and shave down all of that stuff that is not, that's ultimately just dead weight and baggage, simply put. I ain't gonna beat the dead horse no more. So again, you got the Queen of Wands here, so perhaps this is even the gift that he's positioned himself to be in alignment with a counterpart here with the Two of Cups that matches his vibe, whether this, because we started with this as it being almost a relationship, but I see now that it's less about one-to-one as it is just about you or whomever the King of Wands relates to being one in the midst of a vibration of sorts that is misaligned. So here was that here, the choice has been made. You put yourself in a position as the King and Queen of Wands do to be an attractive force by the vibration that you emit, by the one that you expel. So you are only attracting as much as your highest vibration is calling in, which is why when perhaps he was continuing to linger in these realms, he was continuing to find himself captured by toxicity, or at least being offered by it. The temptation alone is dangerous enough. When we're talking about devil energy here, that means that the devil knows exactly how to appeal to what you like the most. You know what I mean? Like what you can really be captured by, even with your greatest defenses. If you continue to dance with the devil and put yourself in the spaces where you can be captivated by that energy, eventually you'll probably find yourself getting caught up, unfortunately, one way or another. That's why it's so important, back to the consecration piece, to make sure that you're not even making yourself vulnerable to those things voluntarily if you can help it, and in this case, he can definitely help it. He not only has the passion and the will to do it, he has the power to do it, and is justified from an ethereal standpoint. So that means that he has the energetic support, like from divine ordinance to make these it's like it's fair, like he can release any guilt or shame or remorse or resistance about it to uphold any type of obligations to anyone outside of what is justified energetically. So he doesn't have to hold on to that shame anymore, like, oh, but these are homies, oh, but this is my family, oh, but this, we've been together for 10 years. Oh, but I've been working this job. What are they going to do without me? Oh, I don't know. I always go, those are my go-tos for the most part. You get the gist. You know what I mean? Like you feel me, that we hold ourselves captive to responsibilities and obligations on account of what we tell ourselves are justified, or not even justified, but that, that are, I can't even find the word, but that we are obligated to, you know what I mean? Like we make that determination, and the spirit comes along, ultimately causing tower moments in our lives to allow us to really see the truth of our experiences, to cause disruptions in places where we would otherwise be comfortable and perhaps even complacent to stay on that vibe. There had to be something disrupting here that compelled him to see his potential, or even to perceive the potential of potential in himself, even when he couldn't see it around himself, and it definitely wasn't being projected to him. So the spirit is always looking for those opportunities to call you to higher ground, to your highest self, to be enlightened as to your greatest potential, showing you the possibility of what you could have, the reward for your surrender and your submission to your highest self, showing you how fair and balanced it could be, the harmony that it ultimately would afford you, reward you, in the sense that you would no longer feel imbalanced and feel like you're trying to hold up the whole family on your back, or the only one of the homies that has their stuff going, shit together ultimately, and you're always trying to make concession for it, not wanting people to feel like, and this happens for sure in friendships, like you don't even want to You dim your light in a sense. You don't even want to be your best self, wear your best gear, do your big one, get the great job, have the flyest girl, because you're afraid of who, is jealous of what you're doing in a sense. So you almost don't even want to project too much success for fear of those that are going to feel disconnected from you and be incited to do something offensively on regard of. That's crazy, but that's the energy I'm feeling here. To stay in that type of vibration longer than what is necessary is self-sabotage ultimately. And it's something that you could only be responsible, like staying in a friend group that you can feel there's envy and jealousy, like frenemies under the surface. These people don't really rock with you like that. They just find some value in either having you around or what you bring to the table that benefits them, but you stick around for the sake of just getting, you go along to get along type of thing. Like that is harmful only to the person that is in submission to that alone. It doesn't hurt the others. They can benefit greatly from it. So you really have to decide who matters most, what matters most. So this is the spirit again, justifying, bringing balance, supporting you and bringing balance to yourself, empowering you to take charge over your life, putting you in a position to be an attractive force for those that are in alignment with you, so that you can actually see that you're not the only one out there on this vibration, and that would inspire you to go even higher, like putting you in the positions to co-create with others that are going to not only support where you are, but that are going to help you to expand that expression to this point of success, recognition, reward, victory in all the right places, in all the right spaces, where you are acknowledged for the energy that you emit and celebrated for it. That these people around you, first of all, in one regard, you're leaving behind the competition as it shows itself here in the Seven of Wands, and you're putting yourself in a position to be around people that not only support you but celebrate you. And that's the vibration of such that will bring you this divine opportunity. This is a seed that continues to grow and grow. It's infinite. This is an idea, an inspiration, a thought, even an investment that has unlimited dividends on the dollar, because you're in the correct vibration to attract it and to multiply it. This ain't it. This up here, this is like spinning your wheels. You ain't never going to get ahead as long as you're around people that are not matching your vibration to get ahead and don't want to see you do better than them. That is just impossible. Yep. Wow. And the Empress is here. Need I say more? But I'm going to take the top card and see. Emperor, same, like I said, masculine and feminine alike. This message is for you if you're watching, and appealing to the masculine and feminine vibration in us all to be proactive and reactive respectively, ultimately, to know when to take charge and making the changes in your life, and know how to respond to the changes that are being inferred or offered to you from your environmental circumstances, i.e. from spirit, ultimately showing you a different possibility. It works both ways. We both, regardless of, it really is a chicken or the egg, because sometimes we get extended the invitation of which we get to receive or decline. And then we also sometimes are incited to take the step or make the move or the action that would lead us and guide us into this new experience of change. It doesn't really matter how it presents itself. It really just comes down to how you respond one way or the other, okay? So the last thing is, and this is the Hermit card, following that inner light, that inner guidance, like I just said. This is like ancestors, way showers, guides, ethereal force, and angels, whatever you want to call it, that is energy outside of yourself that may not even be tangible per se, but that is working through you. It's like working through your internal compass to ultimately lead you to this point of success. The divine wants to succeed you. It wants to promote you. It wants to exalt you. It wants to expand your impact, enlarge your territory. It wants to invest in your visions and your dreams, the very same visions that more or less have been invested in you as a perception in the first place. It's like it wants to co-create with you. The universe needs our hands, our minds, our energy to put our hand to, to put our creativity into force, to bring these things to life from an angelic perspective into a material sense. This is that exchange here, this seed of an investment that is divine in nature wants a place to land. It wants a place to grow, wants an account to be deposited into, but it can only register in a vibration that is a match for it. It's like you can't receive such a divine measure of abundance when you're in a diabolical nature, because the spirit knows that if you say you receive this great fortune and you're still amongst all these snakes and sharks and thieves and at worst, or just people that are looking to live off of you, and that it knows will have the capability to ultimately just drain you of everything that you receive. It's like, why would the spirit pour into that? It's like when you see people on the street, this is a really diabolical example, but when you come across someone, that's disheveled, and there's some people on the street that you get the sense like, okay, this person really just needs some money, or they hungry, whatever. Some people give the energy off that for sure that money is not going to go to food. So instead of when a person that may ask you for money, it'll probably go to something like drinking or drugs. That's not going to be in their best interest or best nature. You can't always know for sure, of course, but what I'm saying is, like, if a person approached you that way, and as opposed to someone that perhaps maybe is a mother and she's on the street with her kid, you might be more compelled to, which could be a trick too, mind you, but you might be more compelled to say, here, take $100. You know what I mean? Let me give you all that I can afford to give in this moment, and just pray that they do the right thing by it, as opposed to someone that you could smell the alcohol in their breath and you can see the tracks on their arms. And it's like, it's not that you don't want to be of service and to help, but they might be better off of you actually buying them a meal than you giving them even $10 in that moment, because it's just going to add to the detriment of their existence. Is that case with the divine? Back to this whole point of consecration. If you have not exalted or elevated your mindset and energetic nature to be in reception to these great gifts of abundance and prosperity, it's like, why would the divine waste that energy to know that it's going to be squandered? Or just even to put you in a position where you won't have it, you won't be able to actually benefit from this great gift, because you're not yet in the place and space to receive it and make the most of it. It's a terrible example in one regard, but I know you feel what I'm saying. So this is like that, like I said, that ethereal nature of you that's, beyond you, that's leading the way, that's guiding you from the inside out, literally watching over you and protecting you, probably the very force that impelled this change in the King of Wands in the first place and compelled him to do something different or think differently, make different choices, separate himself from certain energies, stay out of certain places. That's the energy that's the force that we're being empowered by to continue to make these decisions that ultimately, with the Empress here in comparison to the Emperor, allow us to be our most fertile selves. That's what the Empress is. She's fertile. Here's the seed, the Ace of Pentacles, that gets implanted, or that gets inseminated, I guess, into the Empress, being you at your most fertile self, masculine or feminine, into the ideas and the goals and the dreams and the aspirations that you have, This is the guidance that leads you on the path to bring that seed to its most mature existence by way of the reproductive process. You know, it's helping you ultimately to maintain certain behaviors and certain habits and create a health regimen within yourself that would ultimately nurture that seed that's growing inside of you that any day now is going to be born. You know what I mean? That may perhaps even be born, because the Empress is also a mother. You may already have a business or something tangible, even your own very children, as a matter of fact. It's just as important to be a high value, a vibrational example to them, so we shave the learning curve for them so that they don't have to make the same mistakes or fall victim to the same actions or environments or temptations that we once did. Of course, they have their own paths to lead, but we can certainly help guide them along the way in our own rights as the guidance that we get to be a good example, you know. So it just all works hand in hand, ultimately for the purposes of, again, as I've been saying, elevating the creative conscious experience, you know, the creative consciousness of this world, you know, those that are willing to submit and surrender to it, that are willing to contribute to it, really, not even so much of a surrender as a submission and a contribution to this creative force that we are all a part of in some way, shape, or form, even the worst of us, you know. So it most certainly is important for those of us that are intentional about creating in the most productive sense to make sure that we are, you know, making the brush strokes, you know, in life as the artists that we are, that are contributing to that masterpiece, you know, not a whole mess, you know, that we got enough of that going on in the world. People just splatter and paint, you know, and bullshit, seeing how it sticks, you know. There's a certain level of genius and divine creativity that you've been gifted with, you know, from a very sanctified, anointed space, you know, and you are the conduit from which that gets to be expressed in spirit and in truth. Okay, so that's it. That's all. You know, we got the King of Wands, we got the Queen of Wands, most creative energies on the deck, and then we got the Emperor and the Empress, the most powerful energies on the board. You know, so these are the invitations and the possibilities that we all possess. It's all a matter of just receiving it, believing it to be so, and then expressing it in that accordance, okay? All right, so thank you as always for listening and watching. Yeah, this is definitely in line with the new moon energy that we are in, as we're empowered to do and start new things and create new habits, perhaps leaving the old habits behind and really leaning into the vibration of ourselves that is in the alignment to create in the most optimum frequency, you know what I mean? To be in that divine alignment. It's all about who you believe yourself to be, and then the habits, the doing that match up with that identity and that self-awareness, and that ultimately is what affords the manifestation of the you know, the greatest vibration of you to materialize in an actual, factual, physical way. You know, that you are the gift of the universe, and so therefore you are entitled to receive the gifts of the universe. It is so, and so it is. All right, till next time, peace.